from all, to all, with all, for all, through all. We thank the gods of creation. We thank the ancestors. We thank the forces of nature. And we thank the earth. We thank them for their direction, their protection, their guidance, for keeping us, showing us, allowing us to know and enjoy life to its fullest, now and later.
Black people who once loved with the slow march of time. Time was ours to hold in the soft, love-warm chambers of our hearts. And was we, the Afro mommies and daddies of a sun world, would turn our strands of hair into antennas to tune in the juju madness and syncopated love rhythms of Africa. And we loved with time, and we took the time to love, and with the right time we loved, and we loved time after time. Will we ever love again? Will we ever love again? Will we really ever love again? Or will we just sit and rot away with the brighter tomorrows in the skag field, rat-cluttered halls of our minds?
Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do?
Will the real black people please stand up?
Jumbo Habari, and welcome once again to another segment of Our Story. Greetings, family. We appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight. We work very hard to ensure that you are able to gain something valuable from our presentations, something that will stay with you long after we have signed off of the air. Our aim is to communicate to you, our viewers, information that is not available through the contemporary media. Our pledge to you, our supporters, is to present information from a black perspective, a perspective which has traditionally been denied our community since the days of physical enslavement, when blacks were denied the opportunity of options that would allow us to make intelligent decisions that will allow us to climb from the bottomless pits of dehumanizing living conditions to the top of the pillars of our great ancestors, the original kings and queens of all humanity. Let us not make the mistake that our ensuing adversaries have made, trying to define royalty in a material sense, for material thinking has reduced kings and queens of the world to subhumans, non-humans who have been degraded to slave for others, instead of working and building for self. As we build for self, allow yourself to take a few moments out to reflect. As we reflect, let us remember the RBG, that is the red, the black, and the green. Three colors the Honorable Marcus Garvey brought together to form our national flag and to symbolize our great movement. As I am reminded by the faithful brothers and sisters who stopped me to share a few words of wisdom and encouragement, we are truly a special people. By being a special people, we are obligated to be our brother's keeper and our sister's protector. As all of the great black men and black women who have passed these roads before us, I am continually reminded that we are the leaders we have been waiting for. As I talk to our youth, I continually emphasize to them that we are the leaders we have been searching for. It is because of these reminders that I am guided down the paths I take. As I take the paths plotted out for me by our ancestors, I am reminded of my responsibility to nurture and shepherd the waiting flock of innocent children that are under a cloud of irrational and immoral leadership that is tainted by the many degrees of foreign values and foreign morals. Unfortunately, those of us who have endured the test of time by surviving the cruel and unusual treatment of a sick society, a society full of living forms who have the nerve to call themselves people, living forms that have the nerve to call themselves the children of God. As a black adult, I call upon the other conscious black adults to mount up and ride out against the evil forces that are poisoning and murdering our youth. As if that was not enough to give us, the unconscious black people, rhyme and reason for all blacks to come to the aid of their race. If this is not enough, then the continued assault on black people across the nation should grant legitimacy to a call for action, a call that is rooted in the actions and the directions of those blacks who were kidnapped and stripped of every conceivable dignity granted to us by our creators. That is why it is so important to remember where we came from and how difficult the journey continues to be.
Yeah, sentencing my enemies. He asking you, do you remember me? To label. Yeah, some hard lessons coming from a hard entity. Hey, do you remember me? Be asking you now. Think about that. Do you remember me? Remember me. You remember me? Hear me out. You have been cheating on me, manufacturing my history. I need to sit and talk about the side that's black in me. Pick up your chalice. Please put aside all them fears and your mollies.
Greetings and welcome to the fastest hour in television. I want to thank the many viewers who add content and substance to our story. As I say time and time again, this program is for the black community. Use it. And I'm not one to say one thing and mean another. To prove my point, I want to refer you to something that happened earlier this week and something that happened several weeks ago. First, what happened this week? I didn't know whether it was coincidence or the ancestors causing a scrap of paper to find its way on my front lawn. But Monday, I spotted a piece of paper in all of the rain we were having on my lawn, and when I went to pick it up, I noticed a page of some publication that had been copied. Instead of throwing the paper away, I put it up to dry so I could copy the message. Once the paper dried, I realized that I would have to retype the message because the paper was in too bad a shape to use as is. While typing the information, I became curious as to whose words these were. So during some investigation, I found out that the chairman of General Foods at a manufacturers convention in April of 1952 made this as part of his presentation. The man's name is Clarence Francis, and the message he delivered at this convention is a message black folk need to hear and begin to live by daily. This is what I found. You can buy a man's time. You can buy his physical presence at a given place. You can even buy a measured number of his skilled muscular motion per hour. But you cannot buy his enthusiasm. You cannot buy his loyalty. You cannot buy the devotion of hearts, minds, or souls. You must earn these. The message I received from this is the current explanation as to why black folk are behind and slipping further behind every day. Black folk must not allow the hourly wage to distract us from honoring our ancestors by continuing the course laid out for us by them thousands of years ago. This message speaks to the need of black folk maintaining the loyalty to our people and our culture, which is responsible for all we see and all we hear about throughout the world. Blacks have become lost in the knowledge of who we are and where we came from. That prevents us from knowing what tomorrow will bring. As I mentioned at the beginning of my commentary, this program is for the black community. Use it, and use it you do. Several weeks ago, in another commentary, I mentioned the name Serapis and explained that I would schedule a program to explore who and what Serapis was. Immediately, I received a call from Mr. Lionel Johnson to schedule the Serapis program as soon as possible. It was Brother Lionel's urgency that led me to go about and bring about this created creature, Serapis, that motivated me to contact my friend and scholar who is responsible for me knowing who Serapis is. Therefore, this evening, I have invited Brother Lionel Johnson to be a panelist, along with Linda Hill, co-host and noted archivist from Southern University at New Orleans, and a New Orleans black youth who was unable to make it this evening to complete the panel on the very program that would host Dr. Walter Williams, author of the historical origins of Christianity and the historical origins of Islam, and the man who has brought the truth of Serapis and the entire religious history based on facts and not on emotions. Our Story is honored to welcome the most gracious black scholar of our time, Dr. Walter Williams. Welcome, Dr. Williams, and thank you for this opportunity of hosting you this evening. And I would like for the audience to hear from you now. Dr. Williams?
Okay. Hello, I'm sorry. Wes, I certainly appreciate you asking me to be on your program, and thank you again. I want to thank you, and thank you very much.
I want to get into exactly what brought us to this particular juncture this evening. And that was a conversation during a commentary several weeks ago, and I mentioned the name Serapis. I had a call by Brother Lionel because when he heard it, he said, I want to know more about this creature. Who is he? What is he? And I told him that we would schedule this, and I would call and let him know so he could be at home to watch. Instead, I invited him in the studio so he could be with us live, so he could see and hear from you exactly how and what Serapis is. So, Dr. Williams, it's yours.
Okay, well, Serapis is a created creature known today as Jesus the Christ. I've written a book that's been out for 18 years. The title of the book is called The Historical Origin of Christianity. The capture on the front page is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ never existed. And I walked you through the progression of history. I used the discipline of history. And there's no biblical references. There's no religious theology used in this book. And also, I have a $5,000 award to give to anybody of any race, creed, or color, including the Pope, that can use the discipline of history and prove by way of writing up, using the discipline of history, how, where, and when a character, a biblical character by the name of Jesus Christ, existed and walked the earth as a human being. That $5,000 has been up there for the last, going on 20-something years. So that challenge is still out. Now, if an individual can't do it him or herself, then I would say to that individual, if you can find someone that can do just that, then you will get a $2,000 finder's fee for getting the person that can use the discipline of history and write up how, where, and when a character, a biblical character by the name of Jesus Christ, walked the earth as a human being. Because all religions are based off of one's belief, has nothing to do with facts. It's nothing to do with human history. It's strictly mythology, allegories, and metaphor. That's all its religions are based on, all religions. And no human on earth was born with a religion. Nobody of any race, people came on earth with a religion. You go to your birth certificate, you will find that you will not find a religion listed, but you will have your name and your mother and father's name, etc., listed on that birth certificate, but you will never find that you came into this world with a religion. So all religions are man-made, introduced by man at the time of one's innocence, meaning that as a child, whoever raised you introduced you to this religion or a religion at your early age and stage of your innocency. So therefore, in your early stage of your innocency as a child, you couldn't say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to be a Christian. I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want to be a Black Hebrew Israelite. I don't want to be a Jew, a Hindu, Buddhist, whatever man-made religion that they may introduce you to. You couldn't say that because you was too young to do that. So that's my challenge.
All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Linda first, and I'm going to ask Brother Lionel if they had some questions or observations that they would like to share. Linda?
Well, I just received your book, and I am certainly going...
Louder, please.
I've just received your book, and I am certainly eager to read this text.
Okay.
Okay, with that said, on the front page, you have the ancient Egyptian god Osiris.
Correct.
And you have the created creature, Jesus Christ.
Correct.
Explain to me and to our audience what this means on the front of your book.
Well, it's a created creature. See, all creatures are created. It has no spirituality. It has no life. They're just creatures, you see, and created by man. Now, you have to go back into early ancient Egyptian history, or the latter part of ancient Egyptian history, whereby when the Greeks came into Egypt on Alexander the Greek in 332 BCE, the Greeks knew that in order to rule Egypt, they had to be accepted by the ancient Egyptians in their priest society. So Alexander tried to get himself admitted into the ancient Egyptian sacred society, but he failed to do that because the ancient Egyptians did not accept foreigners in their sacred society, or they did not integrate with other races of people. Now, after his death, after 9 years being in Egypt, he died in 323 because BC dates you count down. So in 323 he died, and one of his army generals took over the rule of Egypt. That person was named Ptolemy I Lagi, called Sotar. The word S-O-T-E-R means savior. And I explain all of that in the book that you have there in your hand. So this image of Serapis, known to us today as Jesus Christ, is nothing but the image of Ptolemy I Lagi, called Sotar, which means savior. He went into Memphis, Egypt, and asked the priest society there, the men and women in Memphis, Egypt, in the sacred society in Egypt, to make his image into a god. So what they did, they took two of their deities, Osiris, the father, which Osiris is the father in the ancient Egyptian divine triad of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, the S-U-N. But that is explained in my book, the book that you have in your hand. And what they did, they took and made a composite of Osiris and Apis, the bull representative of Ra, and came out with a composite name called Serapis or Serapis, and they gave that name to Ptolemy I Lagi, called Sotar. They gave him the name of Serapis. And so that's how that Serapis image came about. And if you follow that image through history, like I did, then in my book I'll show you how the progression of history was developed into this Serapis becoming the Christ at the Council of Ephesus in 431.
Okay, I understand this, and I ask you these questions so our audience will understand.
This is fine, no problem.
Why
any questions you want, And if I have the answer, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you.
So ask whatever questions you think you need to ask.
Okay. More specifically, the created creature, Jesus Christ. What I'm getting to is explain to our audience why this creature needed to be created.
Well, you see, the Greeks wanted to be accepted into the ancient Egyptian priest society. Like I said before, the Greeks knew and the Romans knew in order to rule Egypt, they had to be accepted into the sacred society of ancient Egypt.
Right.
In the sacred society of ancient Egypt, there was a deity by the name of Osiris there. And there was a triad there that consisted of Osiris the father, Isis the holy Hathor called mother, and Horus Jr., the S-U-N, the son of Osiris and Isis. You see,
right.
That's called the ancient Egyptian divine triad. Today it's called the Trinity. And they replaced certain deities in the ancient Egyptian divine triad was replaced to make up the Trinity as we know it today. They took a Horus Jr. out of there, the S-U-N, and put the S-O-N in there. Some of the audience, listening audience, have heard this term. It says Jesus Christ, the Son of Man. You see, that's very technical, but it has a strong meaning to it.
Right.
See, man can only create creatures, something that has no life in it by himself. You see, a female by herself can only create creatures by herself, but the two being mated together, the male and the female, can procreate, bring forth life from that union of sexual union that they can produce another human being. But singularly, if you try to make anything, you can't make anything with life in it. You can't make a rat, roach, dog, or cat with life in it. Everything that you see around you, where you're sitting at this very moment, was created by and came forth out of the minds of men or a woman, singularly. Now, but everything you see around you has no life in it. You see?
Right.
Such as you're sitting in a chair. A chair has no life in it. You know, there's furniture in that room where you are at this very moment. There's no life in that furniture, and so forth and so on and so on. So that's how this created creature came about. It was created by man. And my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity, walks you through the historical progression of how that image was made into the Christ. And you have to go into and read the book and follow the ecumenical council meetings that I present in my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. I present 5 ecumenical councils in there, and then 4 in my Historical Origin of Islam. I'm also saying in the Islam book there's never been a man who walked the earth in human form by the name of the Prophet Muhammad. Of Islamic tradition never existed. All religion is based off of mythology. There's no human history. And none of these religions, they're all man-made. No human on earth came into this world, coming out of their mother's womb, out of their mother's body, with a religion. What you had when you came out of your mother's body was life, L-I-F-E, life, by way of her being attached to her umbilical cord. You see, so you were given life when you came out of your mother's womb, and you was given a man-made religion introduced to you by man, created by man, based off of mythology. So therefore, you have been taught a lie. The whole world has been taught a lie. They've been lied to. All religions is nothing but a disease and a virus that has spread around the world, and how they spread this disease and the virus is from the parent will introduce to the child a religion in that child's early innocency, like I mentioned earlier. So the child, in her innocence, his innocence, he can't say, Mom, Dad, I don't want to be no Christian. I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want to be a Hebrew Israelite. I don't want to be a Jew, etc., etc. You see, so they grow up with this. They send them to church and they read the Bible and all that other stuff that goes along with it. You see, so that's how these things are developed from generation to generation.
We're going to go to Brother Lionel. He has some comments he wants to make, and then we have some callers. We're going to go to the phones, and then we're going to see what our viewers have to say. Brother Lionel,
Thank you.
speak up for him, please.
First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Johnson for letting me come to this program, Our Story, and all of his staff members. I'd like to thank Ms. Linda for being here, too. Dr. Williams, you have certainly, you have exposed these other people. You have, you have exposed it.
Louder.
Huh?
He says you have exposed you have exposed the people.
Yeah, because I mean, almost everybody believes in either Jesus Christ or the Prophet Muhammad, and you have from talking with you, just from listening to what you're saying, you've shown us that there is no such thing as a Jesus Christ or a Muhammad.
Well, and also, see, I wrote it up in my book and used the discipline of history to do that. That's not one biblical reference in my book or any of my books. No Quranic reference used in my Islam book. And I'm working on the historical origin of Judaism. That'll be out in the next year or so. So none of these biblical characters, none of these religious characters ever existed as human beings walking this earth. It's a myth. It's a lie. You've been told a lie, L-I-E. And that's the bottom line to it. You see, and then they give you religious literature to enhance your belief. They give you the Holy Bible, which has two sets of books, the Old and the New Testament. Then that's for the Christians. And then they give to the Muslims, they give them a Quran, which consists of the same type of literature. Inside of the Quran, two sets of books, the Pentateuch and Psalms, and then also the 4 Christian Gospels. You see, and then when you go into Judaism, they have a book called the Sefer HaTorah. That Sefer HaTorah is nothing but the first 5 books of Moses. The same thing. To repeat it. You see, so the 3 major Western religions, those religions. Let's say controlling the minds of the people living throughout the world by way of literature. You see, so those books keeps you believing, enhances your belief in these various religions. You see, that's how it's done.
We have some callers I'd like to get to.
Okay.
Callers, I'm going to ask you to turn your TVs all the way down. Talk to us directly in and through your telephone. I appreciate you watching. What is your question or comment?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. See, this is Ali Shabazz, sir.
Alaikum salam, my brother.
And wish greetings and peace and happiness to your panel. I know Brother Lionel, the musician. I agree with the good doctor because in the Holy Bible, you can't find a word called Christian nowhere in it. You was called a Christian in a place called Antioch 200 years after the death of Jesus. Now, when I was in Africa 30 years ago, and I lived there for 3 years, I agree with the good doctor, because you couldn't find a man named Jesus walked on the earth. You found the imitators. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to ask yourself, what is Christianity? And what is Islam? Islam, the definition of Islam is a way of life, meaning peace. It's not a religion. It's a way of life called peace.
Okay, let me get it to him.
Is peace. Now,
I've got to relate this to him, so hold on, brother.
Yes, sir.
He's saying that he agrees with you, and he's saying he asked the question, what is Christianity and what is Islam? And he answered it by saying it's a culture, it's a way of life. It doesn't have really anything to do with religion necessarily, but it's just a way of life.
No human on earth was born with a religion, so he can't say that. If it was a way of life, it would have been given to him at the time of his birth. But religions, all religions are introduced to a human being by their parents or one who raises them from their early innocency. So that's not a way of life. Eating and sleeping and going to the bathroom, that's a way of life. Okay? So you take no man-made religion and say, oh, that's the way of life. No, it's not.
Can I say that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think religion is a government. That's the way I perceive religion.
Yeah.
Say that again.
She's saying she perceives religion as being a form of government.
A way of controlling.
Like that.
Control, that's what she's saying.
She's right. But use the word control instead of government, then if you use the word government, you have arguments coming from other people. If you use the word control, there's no argument.
There you go. We've got another caller, and we're going to go to them, and I'll let you know what they say. Caller, turn your TV all the way down. Talk to us in and through the telephones. Welcome to Our Story. What's your question or comment?
Hey, Brother West, this is Rodney.
Hey, Rodney, how you doing?
All right, I just got a comment. As far as what the brother's saying about religion being a form of control and it being all based in mythology.
Yes.
During the Third Reich, when Hitler was bent on world domination, his minister of propaganda had this principal philosophy. If you make the lie grand enough, then the general public will argue about the small. They'll be so wrapped up in trying to debunk your grand lie that they won't pay attention to the minor things, the actual things that you're actually doing. And if you go back throughout our human history, every propping of religion always brought with it this one thing: a mass transfer of land holding and wealth. And see, that's what people don't really focus on. See, if I make the story of the religion so grand, like a virgin birth, we know it takes a sperm and
okay, hold on,
make a
because
baby.
he's got to respond to it. He's got to respond to it. Hold up. Go ahead, Doc.
What did you say?
He was saying that he was talking about what happened during Hitler's time. There was one of the generals that made the statement that if you make a lie grand enough, the people you'll give them enough work to do to keep them busy and trying to either prove or disprove the lie that was told, and then you can do whatever you want to do to them. So it's like keeping them busy, giving them busy work.
Well, I heard it just in reverse, a different way. They said that Hitler said that if you can keep repeating the lie and repeating the lie, repeating the lie, repeating the lie, then it becomes the truth in one's mind. So everybody's got a different way of using that phrase from Adolf Hitler, but I can understand what he's saying. Okay. And what he's saying is basically true. In other words, if you put it into an innocent child and raise that child by way of believing in what these religions want them to believe in, and like your panelists say, the young lady there saying that it becomes a part of controlling one's human minds. And Carter G. Woodson, in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, he said it very, very poignantly. He said that if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. If he's trained to go to a back door, if there's no door, he will make one. So that's control.
Yes, sir. We have another caller we're going to go to. Caller, we're asking you to turn your TV all the way down. Talk to us directly in and through the telephone. Try to keep your comment or question as concise as you can because he's having a hard time hearing it, and I have to relate it. So keep it as succinct as you can. Caller, what is your question or comment?
Well, I like to say, first of all, that I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any gods, anybody, anything like that. For the gentleman on your panel, he said most people believe in Jesus or Muhammad. At one time, most people believed the world was flat. That didn't make it flat. I agree with the doctor. I mean, what happened to Zeus? Did he die out, Thor, Odin, or were these creations of men? In the Bible and the Koran... Okay,
hold up, brother. We're going to ask him that. We're going to give him the opportunity to answer what happened to Zeus. Thank you. Dr. Williams, he said that he's an atheist, and he agrees with you. And he goes on to say, what happened to Zeus? So do you want to tell him where and what Zeus is and what happened to him?
Zeus is mythology. It's never been a Zeus. Zeus is nothing but, if you look on the other side on the other side of Zeus, you'll find a Ra from the ancient Egyptians. Okay, deity. Okay, so therefore there was no Zeus. Zeus is all mythology, like Jupiter mythology. Okay, Jesus the Christ, mythology. Prophet Muhammad, mythology. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Sarah, Gideon, Esau, David, Solomon, Joshua, all characters, mythology. You see, so there's no Zeus. If you will study the ancient Egyptian deities and you study the opposite, meaning from ancient Egypt to Greece, then you will find that all of the ancient Egyptian gods are used to create Greek names. So it's mythology. See? So that's my answer to him.
We have the heads of Serapis, Christ, and I believe there's two heads of Serapis and Christ. Could you tell us something about how Serapis, the image, who was it that he used for the image, and how they incorporated Jupiter and Zeus into becoming Serapis, and then how Serapis became Jesus?
Well, you see, my book walks you through that progression, Brother West. Like I mentioned to you before, the successor of Alexander the Greek, after Alexander died in 323, was totally one laggey called Soter. The word S-O-T-E-R means savior. And he was wanted to be accepted into the ancient Egyptian priest society. So he found a temple in Memphis, Egypt, and asked them to make his image into a god. So his image could be put into the temples throughout Egypt alongside Osiris's image in those temples. So therefore, they took the priests and priestesses at the temple in Memphis, Egypt, took two of their deities, Osiris and Apis, and made a composite of the two, and came up with the name Serapis, gave that name Serapis or Serapis to totally one laggey called Soter. You see? So now, through the that was done in 320 BC. Now let's go 600 years later, you're going to come up to the Council of Nicaea 1, 325. And what brought that council meeting up to come into being was three things, and I listed in my book, The Historical Origin of Christianity. One, the Donatist schismatic controversy, the donation of Constantine, and the strong statement by Arius. The strong statement by Arius said that this Serapis was a created creature. It's similar from the Father. Now, the Father that they're talking about is Osiris in that ancient Egyptian divine triad, like I mentioned before, which that ancient Egyptian divine triad consists of Osiris, the Father, Isis, the Holy Hathor, Cow Mother, and Serapis Jr., the S-U-N. So those three things caused the Council of Nicaea 1 to come about. Arius said that this Serapis was a created creature descended from the Father, a perfect creature, but a creature nevertheless, and that brought the Council of Nicaea to be coming into fruition by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians. Constantine had nothing to do with that because he gave his imperial emblems and his imperial authority away to Sylvester I in 313 and 14, okay, prior to that council meeting. Mm-hmm. And when he gave the donation of Constantine to Sylvester, who was a Melkite Coptic Egyptian, all he wanted Sylvester was to do was to baptize him into the Coptic Egyptian Melkite community, just make him a part of it. So he gave all his power away. So Sylvester became the head HNIC over that community, that Coptic Egyptian secular community. You see? And so, but those three things, the Donatist schismatic controversy, the donation of Constantine, and the strong statement by Arius caused that council meeting to come about. And when that council meeting came about, what they did, they went into the ancient Egyptian divine triad. I'm talking about the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, who are known throughout history as the Uncle Toms of antiquity. And they took the S-U-N out of that divine triad and put the S-O-N in there, one that they had created. See? So therefore, and that S-O-N was this Serapis. You see? And then when you, 56 years later, you came up to another ecumenical council meeting called the Council of Constantinople I, 381. So now at that council meeting, let's go back to the first, the Council of Nicaea I. When they put that S-O-N into and removed the S-U-N out of the ancient Egyptian divine triad, that was called the Homogeneous Creed. The Homogeneous Creed it goes like this: God the Father, God the Son, the same. And today it is known as the Apostles' Creed. Now, that creed was made the official creed of the Roman government. Okay? Now, so 56 years later, after the Council of Nicaea I was called in 325, they used that creed and continue to use that creed, and they wanted the Coptic Egyptians in the secular community to adopt that creed. So therefore, they refused to do that. You see, so you progress to the next ecumenical council meeting. I'm trying to rush through it, so I know we have limited time. So you go to the most important council meeting that has ever existed on planet Earth, and that was the Ecumenical Council of Ephesus in 431. Now, this is what happened. The monophysites. A monophysites is an individual that said that Serapis had an Osiris-like spirit, but no human nature. Very important. You see? And then there was Nestorius, who is known in history as bringing forth Nestorianism. At that council meeting in 431 in Ephesus, Turkey, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, to answer that denouncement by the Monophysite, saying that Serapis had no human nature, but an Osiris-like spirit. In order to have a human nature, one has to be born through the body of a female. Okay, so what they did, they went into the ancient Egyptian divine triad again and took out Isis out of there and created a created creature called the Virgin Mary. That's how the Virgin Mary came about. It's a created creature. And they gave her the title of Theotokos. The word Theotokos means the mother of God. Now, they amalgamated this created creature, the Virgin Mary, with the title of Theotokos, with this other created creature called Serapis. And when that amalgamation was made, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians speaking Greek says, now this is the anointed one. Now this is the Christos. And in English, the Christos means, now this is the Christ. So this is how this Christ image came about. All this is historical happenings that happened throughout history. But you will never know that going sitting in the pews of the church, because when you go to a church, anybody go to a church, sit up in the pews of the church, you don't have to think. You don't know anything about Christianity. You believe this because you've been taught to believe and have faith. And faith and belief does not give one knowledge. You cannot get knowledge from believing and having faith. You got to have knowledge today. That's the reason I wrote those books. I wrote those books for one race of people. Like you have your television program, and as you state, for one race of people, the Africans born in America. I wrote my books for the one race, the Africans born in America and throughout the world. Okay? And so if you read the book, learn and study that book. I said read that book more than once, and you study that book. See, because it's more information there to expand your knowledge.
And
I then when you go up to the council, the next council meeting after Ephesus in 431 was the one in 451, the Council of Chalcedon. You see? And they're still arguing over whether this image had a human nature or not. There's Christ now. Now it's Christ coming in. So what they did, they developed two words, persopone, which means a person. A person is meaning a human being, and consubstantiality, also meaning a human being. So they still try to justify this image of Serapis, now Christ, and at the close of the Council of Chalcedon in 451, that's the official beginning date of Christianity first began. And also in that book, my historical argument of Christianity, I'm telling you, I'm writing about the world's first Christian church ever built on planet Earth, called to be built by Justinian and his wife Theodora in 532, using African architects and African builders to do it. It's called the Church of Hagia Sophia. You see, this is history. This is not what Walter Williams is thinking about in his head. Everything I write in my book, an individual can go and check behind me. You see? Yeah. And then if you find something wrong, then come and challenge me. No problem.
We have Linda wants to say something.
I'd just like to make a comment. You said something so profound. When people go to church, they don't have to think. I have a perfect example of that. I go to church. Okay? One particular Sunday, I'm sitting in church looking at the International Bible that is used in church, at the church that I go to. In the back of their Bible, there are maps, ancient maps of the countries that we're over there in right now as America fighting, okay? And my brother, who is the minister of this church, preaches about this particular Sunday, the way Paul was changed on the way to Damascus. Okay, so wait, don't laugh. After church, my brother is educated as well as myself. So we have these discussions about Damascus and Syria and Jordan, the Jordan River. So I asked him one Sunday, I said, do you think that people actually know where these places are?
No, they don't.
Wait a minute. I'm validating what he was saying, what he's saying, okay? I'm not arguing, I'm just validating what he's saying. So I asked him, I said, do you think people actually know where Iraq is as opposed to Iran? Do they know where the Palestinians are claiming that's their land, where the Israelis want? Do they know the dynamics of these places?
No.
Do they know that this is the place that the man called Jesus was supposed to have been born? Nazareth and all these are places that are actually over there. And he looked at me and he said, they don't have a clue. And I said, well, why not? Why do you think we cannot condition that thought? And it's because all of this changed over the years for the purpose, and I know it would cause an argument, but I believe it was changed for the purpose of governing and controlling.
For governing and controlling.
What else she said?
She said it was changed for the purpose of governing and controlling the area.
And that's why your book is important to African Americans.
Now, you see another thing I'm going to bring out, and then I'll go into some of the things that she was talking about. Every time we as African people go into these Christian churches, there's a dead white man hanging on that cross that don't look like us.
Yes.
They don't look like nobody, no African sitting out in the pews of those churches, including the minister. Don't look like him. So therefore, you're worshiping your enslaver and oppressor without you knowing what you're doing, out of ignorance. I'm not using the word ignorance to say as a degrading name. There's a lot of things I'm ignorant in. So therefore, out of ignorance, they don't know any better. But I want them to realize that this dead white image on the cross don't look like you. It looks like your enslaver. It looks like your oppressor.
Yes.
Okay? Now, let's go back into Jordan. The country Jordan was created in 1928 by the British government after World War I. World War I was 1914 to 1918.
Yes.
And the League of Nations in 1920 gave the British government a mandate for that whole area over there that is called the Middle East. this misnomer and called the Middle East because the correct name is Northeast Africa.
That's right.
You see? So therefore, Georgia as a country is a relatively new country built and created by the British in 1928. And he gave the kingship to Abdullah, one of the sons of Hussein ibn Ali, who also known as Hussein, of the Hussein family. Okay? And the country that we know today as Iraq was created in 1922 by the same British government after having given a mandate by the League of Nations. What they did, they boarded off a part of Saudi Arabia or Arabia, and they boarded it off to make the country that we know today as Iraq.
Listen,
okay?
Dr. Williams,
that was done to break up that oil.
That oil, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
In one location, under one rule, or either under one man who was ruling over that whole area over there. And they in 1924, they appointed, the British government appointed another king. His name was Abdul Aziz.
Let me get to another caller because we're almost out of time. I'm trying to get this last caller in.
Okay.
Dr. Williams, just a second. Caller, turn your TV down, talk to us directly in and through the telephone. Make it as short as possible. Caller, what's your question or comment?
How you doing? My name is Troy Penn, and I grew up in foster care all my life, and I was raised around Christian people, and they really instilled and believed that I could be somebody, and recently, these years, you could tell somebody anything. They don't necessarily have to believe it. It's crazy right now because I'm a big fan of this rapper named Lil Wayne right now, and he don't directly say it, but there's something in the Bible that really touched me that I connected with this dude said. He's bragging and boasting, claiming he's not a human and that he could die now and rebirth. And I understand where he's coming from, because I'm a student in school right now for automotive technician. And I was shot recently.
Okay, brother, I've got to cut you because we're running out of time, my brother. I'm sorry, but we're running out of time. We have the fastest hour in television. A couple of things I want to get to make sure that we cover this before I give it back to Dr. Williams and we close out. One thing I wanted to make mention of, one of our viewers that's not with us this evening but's recording, Mary Francois. And I'm sure once she gets this, she's going to enjoy this, and I'll have a lot of questions from her about this, so be looking forward to hearing from her on that. The other thing is I want to let everyone know that Dr. Walter Williams' book is available at the Community Book Center, 2523 Bayou Road. Phone number is 948-7323.
Get both books there.
And they can get both books there, exactly. So call them up, go by, talk to Vera, and see. They'll be happy to introduce you to Dr. Williams' book. And we're going to have Dr. Williams on again soon. But Dr. Williams, you go ahead. I'm going to let you close us out.
Well, I enjoyed my stay with you and the panel, Wes, and I appreciate you inviting me on to your program. And I'm sorry that we couldn't get to all the callers today, but maybe the next time that I'm on, we can continue this conversation, because there's a lot out there that should be known about these religions. And if you read my books, The Historical Origin of Christianity, The Historical Origin of Islam, I'll walk you through the progression of history.
Yes.
To try to explain exactly what happened to us as a people and what is still happening to us as a people. So therefore, the words are used in the book, and the terms are used in the book. Sometimes you never heard of these terms, but they are there. You can check them out in your encyclopedia, or your dictionary, or wherever you want to check them out. But they are there, and use these books to expand your knowledge, because you have to expand your knowledge in order for you to grow.
You're right.
So I hope to be back on with you as a continuation of this particular program.
Yes, sir. You will be.
In the near future, however you want to schedule it.
I will definitely do that. Hold on. I'm going to leave you on while we close out, but and then I'll talk with you after we're off the air. But thanks again, Dr. Williams, for taking the time, and it's been most educational and informative this evening. Thank you, Linda, once again, for being here with us. Brother Lionel, thank you for calling up and encouraging me to have this topic on. And we will visit this again. And as I always say, you're always welcome. Our doors are always open to you for this and any other conversation that might come about. I want to remind our listeners that we are constantly out here in this fight. You know, we're fighting with for SUNO to keep them from closing SUNO. We're out here fighting for the consent decree, to get the consent decree established here so the NOPD can stop the terror, the beatings, and the murder. We want to let you know that you are an essential part of what we do. And we need more of you to get involved so we can broaden and strengthen our movement here in New Orleans. Brothers and sisters, we can't get the enemy to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. We can give up some of that time out there having a good time and second lining and take care of some business in between. We're not telling you to stop, but we're telling you to give up some of your recreational time to do something that's going to be beneficial for all of us today and tomorrow. I want to thank you for being here with us this evening. I want to thank you for the support that you show us. And I want you to remember, you have our numbers. Call us, stay in touch, move forward. Black power is what's necessary for us to move forward. Black nationalism is a vehicle to get us there. Stay strong. Stay involved. But most importantly, you got to stay committed to blackness and our ancestral heritage. Yahuwah Sasa Mgawa.
Reject my message, you awake when the pen dropping. Remember the time the soul was forgotten, slavery was something big that you're running, you're selling up man and man, busting up. That's what I'm talking about. Reality, me and you were two traditional enemies. You envy me even though I am meek, I'm still threatening to schedule me. Possessive to the point I'm putting slavery. That's human trafficking, prostituting, ways restraining our liberty. The liberated be when you force us now, misery. Look, global system warming up, ocean iceberg ready to tear shit up. Neanderthals, you're on the rampage, mashing things up, world harmony be burst wide open. Asunder, why? Because you don't remember me. Yeah, too bad for life.